friends, this is Laura with Potpourri of Life. Today I'm going to make something out of a traditional cookbook, but with a few little twists and stuff. And those of you who have been following me for a while know that I don't always necessarily follow a recipe to the T unless it's something brand new and I want to make sure I get it right the first time. Because sometimes I might not like a recipe due to our taste buds. So the book we're using, Betty Homes and Garden, let me see if I'm reading that. Better Homes and Gardens new cookbook that I got many moons ago. It looks actually pretty in good shape. Pretty good shape. But. So I'm making a meatloaf, and the main ingredient is ground beef. This came from a butcher, from a local farmer, so I'm really grateful that we have that. Now I am going to open that up and put it into my bowl. What else am I going to do in here? The basic recipe, for those of you who don't know, it's beef, a couple of eggs, ketchup, mustard, breadcrumbs. I don't use breadcrumbs. Let's see, salt, sage, let's see, what else? Brown sugar, mustard. See, some of the basic things, sure, keep it in there. I have been known to actually put mashed potatoes in my meatloaf because I had some left over or something. I don't have any left over. But so today I'm going to kind of go by the recipe but make a few changes. So first I'm going to get the hamburger in there, and I am going to change the camera so that you can watch instead of me sit here and chit chat with you. So I have a pound of hamburger in a bowl. This is from the butcher. And what I am now doing is I'm getting the onion ready. Now this was a large onion, a red onion. You do not have to use a red onion. You use whatever onion that you desire. If you don't want to put onions in because you don't like onions, then don't put onions in. This is we do like onions. My husband, when I first married him, he could not stand onions. So I have rules to follow when I put onions in. He says I have to chop them up as fine as possible. I think he just likes to see how challenged I could be. So I don't chop them up really, really fine. There's two ways in which you can work with your onions. You can make it really fine or down to the size that you're comfortable with. You can also fry this in butter or oil or whatever it is that makes you comfortable. And you can put that in there. It'll give it a different flavor. But today all I'm doing is I'm chopping my onions down into small pieces. This isn't small enough for him, but once it's cooked, the neat thing about onions is once they're cooked, it all just blends in really nice. This is a half of an onion, a large red onion. My eyes are watering, so I don't know what I'm doing here. Just kidding. And that should be sufficient, and I'm going to be mixing it all right in there. Oh, ugly tears. Alright, we're going to put this off to the side. The next thing that I'm going to put in are 2 eggs, and let's see if that's on the thing. Yes. 2 eggs is what we need. So, and as I've shared with you before, I break my eggs one at a time to put them into anything that I am making. Because if there was any red in here or any shells, I don't want it into the food that I'm making. And right there I got a little bit of a shell in there. So let's see if I can get that right out, which I was able to. And then I put that right in there. So now we have 2 eggs, half an onion, half a large onion. If you're one that really, really likes onions, then put in as many as you desire. But I think half an onion is very sufficient for this. Now another thing that they talk about is dried breadcrumbs, but right now I'm not going to go there yet because that's one of the things I don't do. I don't put breadcrumbs in. I'll explain that in a little bit. So I've got the onions in there. 2 tablespoons of parsley. Now I have some parsley that I've already dried, so I don't always measure everything either. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this, take the stems out. These are some that I had in my garden. That is not 2 tablespoons, because I'm also going to put in, and this is where you can change things up to work for what you have. I'm actually going to be putting in some dried spinach, a little bit of that. I'm going to just put a pinch of Italian seasoning. The next that I'm going to be putting in is my garlic and herb blend that I have. There's no salt in this. But if you have a garlic and herb blend that you use, you can put salt in it. This is starting to smell amazing. One other thing that I put in my meatloaf is chia seed. Now, I do want to share with you that sometimes we might not have one of these items on hand, because I use this stuff all the time that I eventually run out. One of the other items that I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, gomasio, I put a little bit of this in. And this is a brand new one, so I have to break open that seal. And I like it. It just gives it a different type of flavor. All right. So now I am going to start mixing this in. We do not have the final thing in there. I don't have the milk in here. I don't have the ketchup or the oatmeal. But right now I want to get this all mixed in. And yes, go ahead and, as long as your hands are washed, go ahead and mix this together. And I know to some people that might be gross. You're going to be putting it in your bellies anyway. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do, other than wash my hands, is the next ingredient, which was way at the top, is I am going to put in about half a cup of oatmeal. That's right, I put oatmeal. I'm going to change the camera here. Yes, I put in oatmeal into my meatloaf. I used to do breadcrumbs, but I have an allergy to breadcrumbs. Is that really the reason that I've changed? In a way, but not really. I changed it up to oatmeal because what happens is, even though this is not really fatty beef, it does still have fat, and other ingredients get to absorb right into the oatmeal. Now it says half a cup, and you're going to find that I might put a little bit more in. So it says half a cup. And I have a feeling I'm going to be putting in a cup. And there is a reason. It's because if it doesn't get to the consistency that I like, I have to put a little more in. One of the other items that we need to put into here is some milk. Now it says 3/4 cup of milk. Now I am not going to be putting in regular milk. And the reason is my husband doesn't like meatloaf as much as I do. So he might have a serving for dinner, and then he might have a serving in a sandwich or a side dish for lunch the next day. I'm the one who really likes meatloaf. I didn't like it when I was younger, and I didn't like it when I was using the recipe book. And this is why it's really important, if you don't like the recipe somewhere, change it up. Put stuff in it that you like. So I'm going to put 3/4, there it is, 3/4 of oat milk. I did not make it to the farm stand this week, so I'm not using whole milk. But again, I didn't want to use whole milk today anyway. So that is 3/4 cup of oat milk. Use whatever milk you want. I find that oat milk, soy milk, and whole milk, whether it's from the grocery store or from the farm stand, is a bit better because it has a thicker consistency. The next thing that I'm going to do, it says, usually the ketchup goes on top. I never liked my my meatloaf that way. Never, ever. And that's the way my mother used to make it. And I never liked it. So I don't put it in. But when I am done, I like to pour it like on the top after it's cooked. I don't like cooked ketchup that way. But I do put in a little bit, maybe a 1/4 cup of ketchup. I'm not measuring, okay? I'm just kind of like, that looks like a 1/4 cup. Let's see, what else does it call for? And it calls for some brown sugar. I am not going to put in a lot because the brown sugar is part of that dressing part. You do not have to put brown sugar into your meatloaf if you are not putting a dressing on. So if you are concerned about sugars, leave it out. I do not put very much on. The dressing, it says 2 tablespoons. I'll probably put a tablespoon on. Sorry, it's a new bag of brown sugar. I try to get organic sugars all the time. This here is an organic brown sugar. If you do not have brown sugar on hand, if you're going to take a tablespoon of brown sugar or regular sugar, just put like a teaspoon or a 1/4 teaspoon of molasses in, and you will have the same flavor. So, about that much. That's not as much as it called for. The other thing it calls for is dry mustard. And although I do have dry mustard, I am actually putting in regular mustard. Why? Because it was easy to grab. No, it's actually what I put in all the time. And that is probably a 1/2 tablespoon. Like I said, everything is based on what your likes are. Now I'm going to get a spoon, a wooden spoon now, to mix this. I will again change the camera. So now I'm just mixing up all of this. Now, as you can see, with all of this in here, it's a little bit moist. This is why I add more than what they ask for in terms of oatmeal. So I already put a 1/2 cup in, and this is old-fashioned oats for those who are curious. So I'm going to put a whole cup more in, and then I'm going to see how it is. Now, and I realize a lot of people might say, well, that's not right. You need to have the meat. See, the thing is when you combine other things like oats in here, you're getting a good grain for those who are not allergic to it. You can use gluten-free, which is not processed on the same areas as regular oats, because those might be processed with, yeah, I don't worry about things that are gluten-free or not when it comes to oatmeal, unless it's obvious. But these were organic oats. I believe they were Bob Red Mills. These are old-fashioned. So now I am up to 2 cups. Yep, I am up to 2 cups. See, I'm going to let you know. This is a 1/2 cup measure. And that's what I'm up. So I'm up to 2 cups because I put 4 of those in. And you can still see the ground meat in here. Now, while you're doing yours, you might not think that you need that much oatmeal. Or maybe you have a 1/2 pound of beef left over from something else that you made. Maybe you made hamburgers or something. You didn't use all your beef. Just cut it down in half. The next thing of what I am going to do is I'm going to wipe this out. And then I'm going to put some lard in there. Now, if you don't have lard or you're disgusted with lard, it's actually very healthy for you. Please look it up if you don't believe me, or just don't believe me. It's not going to hurt my feelings. So you take the lard and you put it into your bread dish or whatever baking dish that you are planning to bake your meatloaf in. Okay, there's just one more ingredient I have not put on yet. But this is ready to go into the bread pan. It smells amazing. Now this is an affordable dish. Now you might think, well, how can it be affordable if you're putting all those other things in? Well, when I buy spinach or when I grow spinach or when I buy different herbs and stuff, if I'm buying it fresh, I will actually dry it because I can't eat the bunches of spinach when I get them, nor when I grow them. So I just dehydrate them. So I end up with, this one is the dried spinach. This here is the kale, I believe. Nope, I had kale. I didn't bring it in. Oh well, we're not going to put kale in. But I just grabbed a few things that I use. Now, this bread pan is full. Okay. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to put on this for the top part. Alright, but the first thing I have to do is I have to set the oven to 350. So what I'm doing, the last thing that I am doing on this, now many people, let me see if I can get the camera right. Okay, some of you might think I'm a little odd, but the seasonings out there, the blends and stuff, are really kind of cool. This one is everything seasoning for bagels. So if any of you make bagels at home and you have this seasoning, you can put it on here. And I'll tell you a few other things that I put this on. And it's something that my husband really likes that I do. Hold on. So I've got this everything bagels blend. And this is for people who are making bagels. I think that's what the blend was for. I just sprinkle it on top. You can use as much or as little as you want. That might have been a tablespoon maybe less. That is it. So for those of you who have never made a meatloaf, because I know that in the grocery store it's so much easier to just go get something already made for you. It's just so much easier. But with the way foods are being processed today, consider getting quality meat and quality ingredients and make your own. Now, this is a brand new bottle, but this is going to last us a couple of months because I don't put it on everything I eat. But I do put it on breakfast stuff sometimes. Or there was something I put it on the other day and my husband was like, "What are you doing?" That's what he says when he doesn't understand. "What are you doing?" I said, "I got a surprise." So I put that on. Now, you don't have to do that. Maybe you just want to put on garlic and herbs in here. Use whatever makes you happy. Now this blend, this Gomasio, and I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but this I have put in every single time of all my meatloaves because it's added a beautiful flavor even without any of these other ingredients. So it has organic sesame seed, seaweed, and sea salt. So that is why there is no salt added in here, no peppers, although I think there's some black pepper in my garlic and herb blend that I make. So you can do whatever you want. Do you have to put the ketchup and the brown sugar? Sorry, it wasn't facing me. No, you don't. For those of you who used to get the meatloaf with that ketchup covering, if you like that, then save that and mix it together and spread it on top. I can't stand it. It just kind of creeps me out. I've never liked it. There's another term for it, but some people get upset when I say it makes me feel sick, because it does. Never have liked it as a little girl, but so I just put it right into my meatloaf. And it's changed up the flavor of my meatloaf. Using the oatmeal makes a huge difference. And if you have never done oatmeal, try it. I'm starting to see that some people are starting to add oatmeal into their meatloaves. I've done it for years. And my kids are always at Mom's making meatloaf. And they like it. It goes. One time I brought it to a family Christmas. Everybody was just bringing something, and I wasn't feeling good, and this was something that was easy. So if you have days that you're not feeling the greatest, this is something that you and your husband, or you and your kids, or your kids can put together, as long as the meat is defrosted, and you just put it together, and you decide what ingredients you want in it. So once the oven is done, I'm going to throw this into the oven, and then, well, I'll place it in there so nothing breaks. And then I will be back, and I'll show you the end product. Okay, it's time to get the meatloaf out. Let's see how this turned out. Honestly, I think it looks really, really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a slice so you can see what it looks like inside as well. And it's still hot, but with meatloaf I have a tendency to cut it out early anyway. I just want to make sure that it's completely cooked inside. Because for some reason cooked inside makes it taste so much better. Okay. Yep. So this is what it looks like. It's fully cooked inside and it smells good. Now this is where, even though I put ketchup on the inside, this is where I would put ketchup on top of my meatloaf. So it's going to be really super hot, so hopefully I won't burn my neck. And I just kind of go over it. I just don't like ketchup baked, but I do like it on top. This is great. I'm actually very fond of my meatloaves. But why I wanted to share making a meatloaf is to remind people that there are ways to stretch our dollars. When we buy pre-made meals that are in the market, we're actually wasting money because you're not going to get a large bread pan size meatloaf. Those meals at the store are very, very expensive. Now, my husband and I have not bought pre-made meals in a very long time. That doesn't mean that we haven't in the past. But why I'm saying this is when we need to stretch our dollars, we need to start cooking at home. This is a meal you can make on the weekend. And then if you have a small family of 4, cut it in half. Have half on the weekend or have it 2 meals during the week. It's a quick meal that you can take out of the freezer and cook it up. And if you freeze it in slices, you just take out what you need in the morning so that when you get home, you just, some people use microwaves. We don't. You can put it right in the oven or whatever. This meatloaf is very, very moist. And we will probably put half of this into the freezer. And part of the reason is, sorry, talking and eating is rude. Part of the reason is we will have it for a few meals and then we'll have something for another time. Now, if you have a large family, 1 meatloaf might be perfect for your size family. Everybody's family sizes are different. But you can add potatoes, mashed potatoes on the side. You can add a salad. You can add a variety of things to this. Why I'm sharing this is I hope that people are starting to realize with the cost of foods going up, so high that you're taking inventory of what you're buying. Take the time to look at the prices. For us, when we buy farm fresh milk, we're able to get it for $5 a gallon. But there's another farmer who sells it for $8 a half gallon. We don't go there anymore because that's too much for us. And then there's a processing fee on top of it. And we have to support the farmers that are also helping to support the community. And if they're still happy with their $5, then they might go up as well. It's sort of like the prices of everything else that's going on. We have to be very thoughtful of where we're buying things. If you price yourself so far out, you're not going to have, those places will not have consumers coming back. I had bought some fresh vegetables from them before, and what I thought I would get, I didn't get nearly what I thought I would. So that is why I'm doing my best to get our gardens going really well, and that's why I started seed saving. If you haven't started seed saving, look back at my other video that I did a few days ago, and consider starting some, even on a patio on your deck with your apartment, or see if your apartment complex might have a community garden. I'm sharing this because it's going to be really important. This is not to cause fear. All I know is that when my husband and I go to the grocery store, and we're very, very frugal, we go and we get exactly what we need. I make a list. This is what we need. And when we come back and the groceries are getting to be to the point where a small amount is over $100 for 2 people, I can't do it. Now remember, yes, we do buy our meat from a butcher. We also go to another place that sells buffalo and a few other types of beef. But when it comes to our other foods, our basic staples like molasses and sugar, all those things, you have to look around to see what you can do to stretch your meals out. I'm going to be sharing in another video a way in which you can have some staple items that will make sure that you get the nutrients you need using very basic things that you can easily make at home. And I want to share it so that anybody can do it. But I'm not going to go into it here, but I wanted to share that the meatloaf came out great. I know my husband will like it because he likes my meatloaf. When we were first married, when I was following the cookbook, he hated it. So if your meatloafs don't come out very well and everybody complains about it, switch it up. If you don't use oatmeal, throw oatmeal in there. If you're one, a long time ago, my mother-in-law used grape nuts. I didn't care for it, but sometimes that could be another alternate to throw in there. Use what you have. You don't have to, just because I have these different spices and herbs that I grow and stuff, you can grow them too. And even if you're not good at growing things from seed, you can certainly go to a garden center and pick up little pots of different herbs that you can grow, and make sure that you prune them. When they get too big, sorry, I'm having a hard time talking today. Rosemary, thyme, and all these things. I've got a huge half-gallon jar of thyme. That's how much grew. And I have that with a lot of other herbs, basic herbs that you can get at your markets, your garden centers. Get those because those will add flavor to your foods. And be very careful of what you're buying. Try to look at your labels to make sure that there's no additives. Now this ketchup was on my shelf for a while. This is the only thing. It does not have any additives, like it's not bioengineered. But it does have high fructose corn syrup and corn syrup. Now recently I started buying some ketchup that is organically made, but I want to get through with what's already on my shelf. I'm using just a little bit of ketchup, and I don't use ketchup every single day. I'm justifying why I'm cleaning off my shelf because I can't justify throwing food out that I'm okay with. If it's bioengineered, I get rid of it. But I'm trying not to buy it, and my husband's getting really good at checking the labels too. So if this seems like something that you can do, is to make a meatloaf. If this is all you have for dinner tonight, that's okay. It has a lot of protein and other nutrients, and by putting in freeze-dried vegetables like the, what did I put in? I already put it back, or did I? The kale or the spinach, if you freeze-dry that and throw that in there, that gives it more fullness on top of the oatmeal. Think about what you can put in there to make this fulfilling. On the side, if you have tomatoes growing, or you have a place where you can get an organic tomato, slice it up and put it on the side. Or cheese, if you have some cheese that you picked up. Make sure it's good quality cheese. You can get that at the farm stand, but like I've shared before, I use the Cabot brand, C-A-B-O-T. I use their brand because I don't see anything in there that I'm upset about or worried about. So far, it's been fine, and we check that label every single time we go to the store to make sure. And always buy your ingredients when it's on sale, because it's the only way we're going to combat this. And I want you to realize that you don't have to have a massive amount, but God does ask us to prepare. The one thing that He's asking us to prepare for is our hearts. Are we right with God? And I know there's a lot of fear-mongering. I am not doing that. I am not here to fear-monger anybody. I like to see people actually sit back and relax, even during the hard times, and making their ends meet. I don't even know if I just said that right. I'm tired. I had to wait a while for this to cook. And then I took care of the chickens and did a few things like that. And we're making some decisions, so I'm going through and I'm planning out my garden and, you know, looking at the seeds that I purchased and seeing how I can best utilize those seeds and where I can place them. So friends, that's the meatloaf. I hope that you take time to think about, can I make a meatloaf like that? If you don't like meatloaf, what can you do with that hamburger? There is other things you can do. If you don't like meat at all, there are some other things I'll be sharing in a few other videos coming up of what you can make without using meat. So I'm a big meat person, chicken, fish, I'm big on that. But if you prefer to see some things made with fish, write it down. If you prefer to see things with legumes, write it down, because those are the type of things I'm going to be sharing. And I'm hoping that this was informative. I hope you liked the process of how I made the meatloaf. And I have made salmon loaf. I'm not sure if I've done a video. If you would like to see a salmon loaf video, let me know, because it's something that my husband and I consume. And with that, we tend to have like Brussels sprouts or broccoli with that. And I don't have any vegetables in the house. All I have is some lettuce that I have left that I will probably use up. Have a great night, folks, and may God bless you.